Our next session will start now. We have the Minister of Environment and Energy, Sakas. Welcome so much for
Yes, Kostas.
So thank you very much. We've been talking all morning, waiting for you to come, because the debate has been around energy and the environment. And we have many people here that think climate change and dealing with environment is absolutely critical. We have many people here that think energy is absolutely critical. And we've been waiting for you to come to kind of help us understand how you manage the both together. How do you think about that?
Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you for the invitation and for having this great discussion, I'm sure. So, well, energy goes together with environment. So you cannot have, you cannot protect the environment. You cannot reduce significantly CO2 emissions if energy sector is not playing a very important role. So let me say that green transition, as we say, green energy transition, is the main priority in order to reduce CO2 emissions and that mitigate or eliminate the effects of the climate change and the climate crisis. So I think that both disciplines are very well located under the same ministry. And just to give you an example, also Italy, near us, has exactly the same setup. So they have a Ministry of Energy and Environment. So it gives you some advantages. And what are those advantages? First of all, you can prioritize, for example, environmental permits that have to do with big energy projects, like solar power plants, like wind farms. Of course, the first priority is the protection of the environment. So we will never make any discount on the protection of environment just because we want to develop an activity, a human activity. So first comes environmental protection, and then, of course, comes energy.
So how, in this period of time with energy prices rising, how are you managing through that situation, which might be with us for a while?
Okay, just to put things in order, let me say that finally, currently we are facing a geopolitical crisis, a war, a catastrophic war, Russia against Ukraine, which also fuels an energy crisis. An energy crisis that has to do with the skyrocketing prices of gas, of oil, and of electricity at the same time. So I think that this energy crisis is far more intense and takes longer if you compare with the energy crisis we had during the decade of 70s. And that makes it more difficult to manage it. So what we have done here in Greece is we have taken decisive measures in two directions. The first is to secure, to guarantee affordable prices for the households, especially for the most vulnerable, and for the small, medium enterprises. So we have created an energy transition fund, as we call it, since last September, and we lead there, we direct there all the revenues that are coming from the ETS system, from the auctions of the emissions of the CO2. Also, we are directing there all the windfalls that we are capturing from the electricity generation companies and now also from the suppliers of the electricity, and we return those money to the consumers via the electricity bills. So this is to mitigate the impacts of the energy crisis in the short term. In the long term, we have another strategy that started long before the energy crisis appeared. I'm talking for the green energy transition. The solution for energy security, for affordable prices, for predictable prices, and for protecting the environment is energy transition. Let me say that in Greece currently 46% of our electricity demand will come from renewables in the year 2022. That means that almost half of the electricity that we consume comes from renewables. Greece is the 8th country in the world concerning the penetration of renewables into our electricity grid. There were many, almost 5 hours, a few weeks ago, that 100% of the electricity that we were consuming locally and 100% of the electricity that we were exporting to the neighboring countries was coming from renewables. So this shows how ambitious we are and the leadership that Greece is showing now regarding green transition. What are the effects of that green transition to the consumers? Let me say that, for example, the last year, in 2022, we will deploy almost 2,000 megawatts of additional renewables. Those renewables, let's say that they're going to produce more or less 3 million megawatt hours. We would need 6 million thermal megawatt hours of natural gas to produce the same electricity. That means that we're saving. Next year we will save, if we have the same level of gas prices, around 600 million to 800 million euro of gas that we would be forced to pay and import it in order to generate the same electricity that now is going to be generated from the renewables that are going to be established in Greece just in 2022. So let me say that in the last 3 years, we have almost increased by 80% the installed capacity in Greece from 6,000 megawatts that was around in 2019 to 10,000 megawatts, which is going to be by the end of this year. And of course, this penetration rate is going to be increased. It's going to increase in the next years.
I think many people from outside of Greece that hear your comments would be surprised. You've gone through a financial crisis in the country, and yet you've been able to take that much of your electricity supply to renewables. What was key to make that happen?
The common logic and political will. Okay. I think those are the two fundamentals that have led us here, where we are now and where we're going to be in 2030, when we want 80% of the electricity consumption coming from renewables. We have done, though, many things at the technical level. For example, we have proceeded with the necessary legislative regulation in order to make easier for the investors to take the permits, the environmental permits, and all the permits which are necessary to construct such power plants. Also, we have created an attractive investment environment here in Greece. So now the investors, the foreign investors and the local domestic investors know that they will come to Greece, they're going to invest in the energy sector. The reliability of the political system is very high. The reliability of the economy is very high. We are fully disciplined regarding the balance sheet, the state balance sheet. And of course, we have also created some financing tools in order to promote such investments. Let me, for example, say that in order to arrive to this very ambitious target in 2030, that 80% of the electricity would come by renewables, we need to upgrade the grids. We need to upgrade the domestic electricity grids, the international interconnections with the neighboring countries. We have to deploy at least between 6 and 8 gigawatt of storage capacity. For all those investments, we're going to need around 30 billion euro. Some of those money are going to come and are going to be subsidized by European and state financial reserves, so that finally the money and that the consumer, the final consumer, will pay is not going to be higher than what is currently paid. So all these investments are very well balanced. Currently, just to explain a little bit better, currently to generate electricity, to produce electricity for renewables is 2, 3, and 5 times cheaper than producing electricity from gas or from lignite, if you add also the carbon tax that Europe has had. So if we change the energy mix, that means that we're going to have lower, more competitive energy prices. So that, at the end, is going to pay back. Consumers have not to pay more in order for these investments to be compensated, because those investments are going to be paid back just because the technology now makes them more competitive than the conventional way of producing energy.
Right. Now as you get toward 80% renewables, you mentioned you have to have storage necessary. What technique will you use for storage?
Okay, currently we have 2 priorities. One is hydro pumping systems. So we are going, very recently we have a very big hydro pump project of a capacity of almost 800 megawatts has started operations, constructions, and also batteries. So a part of it, around 1,005 megawatts, is going to come from hydro pumping systems, and the rest is going to come from conventional batteries.
So your early education was civil engineering?
Back in the past, yes.
Yes, in the past, but not that far in the past. You're young. And then also you have a strong commercial background. How have those 2 experiences impacted you in your current role?
They help me a lot because I measure things accurately. So they have made me look at the figures and at the numbers, and decide when the numbers say that we should proceed.
Do you have in the political environment difficulty following through on that? Is the environment here, when the numbers say that, can we really do what the numbers say we should do?
Yes. And to be honest, I think that we should only proceed with things if numbers are good for the consumer, for the taxpayer as well. So we don't need, for example, okay, coming again back to the energy sector, we shouldn't invest money to assets that are going to be stranded assets in the near future. Okay. So someone may see that gas pipelines still are evolving in Greece. Yes, because, okay, gas, we want to reduce gas dependence, natural gas dependence in the future. For sure it's going to be a transitional fuel in order to, it's going to help us to fulfill our target and achieve energy transition. But on the other hand, the same pipelines, the same network is going to be used in order to transport and to distribute biomethane, green hydrogen, so renewable gases. So what we are doing here in Greece is very well calculated and very balanced. So at the end, the cost is not going to be higher than the current cost that the consumer pays.
That's great.
Because finally, we should always keep in our mind that someone is going to pay back those investments, someone is going to pay the cost of those investments, and the one is the consumer, the final, the taxpayer, the final consumer of the energy.
So what are the questions you get from consumers when you're out in a town meeting or something and they're asking you questions? Yes. What's the common question you get?
If we're going to continue subsidizing the energy bills.
And so, what is your answer to that?
And if we have make all provisions in order to secure the financial resources which are necessary to continue subsidizing those energy bills. And the question is very clear. The Prime Minister Mr. Kyriakos Mitsotakis has already given this answer, clear and loud, that as long as this energy crisis continues, for sure we're going to support the Greek households, especially the most vulnerable, and the small, medium enterprises, in a way that is not going to put extra, let's say, weights or unnecessary weights onto the state budget. Let me say that almost 60–70% of the money that we use in order to subsidize bill is coming from the revenues of the ETS system and for the of the tax and of the extra taxes of the windfall revenues that the energy companies have because of the electricity model that we. So only the state budget contributes only by 20–30% on the subsidy scheme that we have developed.
Okay, so it's manageable then for extended period if you have to.
It's very managed, and that clawback mechanism, that windfall tax mechanism, tax capturing mechanism, has already been adopted by the European Commission to be applied on a European level. So we designed and we implemented this mechanism last July, and last September, 3 months later, October, we passed it from the Energy Ministers Council of Europe, and now it is a European legislation.
Oh, it's great leadership.
Yeah, exactly. That shows the leadership that Greece has shown lately in the energy sector as well, together with other sectors that our Prime Minister has shown already.
So for an individual consumer, about what percent of their cost is subsidized?
Let me say that for households, we try to absorb between 80 and 90% of the increase. Of the increase. So for small, medium enterprises, between 70 and 80%, and for medium and larger enterprises and companies, we absorb around 50% of the increase. So it is not enough, maybe, for many of them. We try to find other financing tools to determine, if necessary, that could help them to roll over and get out of this, go through this energy crisis. But still, let me say that the current prices of electricity are affordable, not saying that we have, of course, solved the problem completely.
That's great leadership. Congratulations. One topic we talked about yesterday, we had just the Global Federation talking yesterday, was the role of hydrogen in the future. You mentioned hydrogen earlier that would play a role. Do you think it would be a big role in Greece 10 years from now?
I will say that finally hydrogen is going to be the fuel that all planets is going to use in the future, no, sooner or later. It seems that energy crisis has brought forward all the investments which are necessary to produce hydrogen, to transfer it, to transport it. I think that energy crisis has brought forward also green transition as a whole. For sure, hydrogen is going to play a very important role. Currently, Greece is being transformed to a hub of green energy. So we are planning to build an electricity interconnection between Greece and Egypt of 3 gigawatt, of a capacity of 3 gigawatt, so that will give us opportunity to import from Egypt green energy, green electricity energy that will be produced in Egypt at even more competitive costs than in Greece. Also, we're discussing with Austria and Germany to build a direct DC cable interconnection between Greece and Austria that will end up to southwest Germany in order to export their green energy at a very competitive prices. Don't forget that in Greece we have almost twice the radiation that Germany has. So we have a significantly lower cost of production of electricity coming from sun than in Germany or in Austria. So those are the projects, visionary projects, that can help Europe as a whole to achieve the ambitious targets that REPowerEU is going to set for 2030.
So gathered here in this room or watch online later are university presidents, business leaders, government leaders, people that are trying to improve the productivity in over 30 countries in the world. We have about 1 minute left. What's your message for them?
The solution is renewables. Could be the message.
That's very clear. Thank you very much.
Thank you.